Hello. When you think of Japan, what comes to mind first? A country that is one of the most advanced in Asia. A civilized society, where people move in an orderly manner, trains arrive on time to the second. A place where 5-year-old children can take the train to school by themselves, and the streets are so clean that you might think they hire people to clean them all day. But if you think that Japan is all about exemplary, ideal things, then you are wrong. Deep inside that orderly, clean, and standard appearance, there is a society full of contradictions. A country with dark sides that are cleverly hidden under a flashy shell. And especially strange truths, sometimes. So absurd that you can't believe that they exist in such a civilized country. In this video, we will explore 10 such truths. 10 contrasting areas between culture-life thinking habits that make you exclaim, Japan is truly a country of contrasts. Fact number 1, a clean country. But there are no trash cans. You will easily notice a strange thing if you come to Japan for the first time. The streets here are almost free of trash, but you will also not see any trash cans. So where do Japanese people throw their trash? The answer is, they bring their trash home. That's right. From children to adults, they all have the habit of keeping trash in their bags, in their backpacks, bringing it home to sort and process at home. Why is that? The story originates from the 1995 sarin gas terrorist attack in Tokyo. At that time, the poison was hidden in trash bags left on the streets. Since then, the Japanese government has begun to restrict the placement of trash cans in public places. But the important thing is, people do not object. They accept the lack of trash cans. They consider it natural to keep their trash until they get home. No one feels bothered. No one complains. Even after eating at the park or supermarket, people will wrap up their trash, put it in their personal bags, and take it away as part of their responsibility to the community. This is one of the clearest examples showing that Japanese people love cleanliness, but they are also very self-conscious. A society can be clean not because there are people cleaning, but because each individual knows how to keep it clean. Fact number 2, a civilized society. But there are incredibly bizarre festivals. We often think of Japan as a polite, reserved society that values its image. But did you know that every year, Japan holds festivals that, at first glance, you would think were a joke? For example, Hadaka Matsuri, also known as the Naked Festival. Thousands of men, wearing only a small loincloth called a fundoshi, rush into a shrine to grab a lucky object thrown by monks. They jostle, push, and physically collide naturally, all while the crowd cheers. Or the Kanamura Matsuri Festival, where people celebrate fertility by carrying giant phallic statues through the streets. This festival is held to pray for reproductive health and ward off disease, and is now a cultural destination for tourists from all over the world. Can you see the contradiction here? A society that values modesty, yet holds festivals that expose the body or sensitive images in public. A country that is serious about daily life, yet allows such activities to take place in public. This is not a contradiction, but a testament to the duality of Japanese culture, where tradition, spirituality, and emotional release still exist side by side with modernity and order. Fact number 3, the Japanese are extremely polite, but also very private. One of the things that impresses visitors to Japan is the absolute politeness of the people here. You will rarely hear arguments in public. They speak softly, behave moderately, and bow to each other as a sacred ritual. But because of that, Japan has become one of the countries with the highest rates of loneliness and depression in the world. The culture of Tate-mei and hon, meaning appearance and true thoughts, forces the Japanese to hide their true feelings. They always keep a calm face, always smile at the right time, but inside can be a completely different world. This leads to a very contradictory social phenomenon. A country where you are served with great care everywhere, but also a place where it is very difficult to make real friends. A society that is absolutely civilized, but also a place where thousands of people choose to commit suicide every year because of the feeling of isolation. Politeness is not wrong. But sometimes, politeness becomes an invisible wall that separates people from each other. The first 3 facts are just the tip of the iceberg called the Japan paradox. In the next part, we will delve deeper into things that are even more strange and confusing. A modern society that still uses outdated technology. A rich country that has citizens who live in seclusion, not leaving their rooms for years. And much more. Let's continue our journey to discover the shocking contrasts of this country. Part 2, Truth #4, 7. The deepering opposite. Truth number 4. A high-tech country, but still uses fax and CDs. When talking about Japan, the image that the world often thinks of is robots, AI, bullet trains, automated machines in every industry. But there is a truth that you cannot believe. Many businesses, agencies, and hospitals in Japan still use fax machines every day. While the world has long switched to email, electronic platforms, and digital signatures, in Japan, a contract may have to be printed out, signed by hand with a personal seal, hanko, and then faxed to the other party. Not only faxes, you will find music stores still selling CDs as a standard. In the age of Spotify and YouTube music, that may sound absurd. But in Japan, artists still release physical albums, and fans still line up to buy them. Why does a country at the forefront of technology still have such old-fashioned habits? The answer lies in culture. The Japanese value process, safety, and tradition over speed. To them, faxes are storable proof, red stamps are clear commitments, and holding a CD is an irreplaceable experience. Once again, we see an interesting contrast, a modern yet surprisingly conservative society. Fact number 5. The Japanese are always busy. But there are invisible people. In a world where time is money, Japan is famous for its harsh work culture. Karoshi, death from overwork, is a real word in Japanese, and reflects a society where work is sometimes more important than life. However, there is also a completely opposite generation, the hikikomori, roughly translated as hermits. These are people who lock themselves in their rooms, refuse all social interactions, and cut off contact with the outside world for years, even decades. It is estimated that Japan has about 1 million such people, dependent on their families, not going to school, not going to work, not communicating. What has caused this phenomenon? A society that puts too much pressure on success. A strict education and recruitment system. A culture that does not accept failure and expects ideal models. That is why many young people, when they do not meet expectations, choose to disappear. They still exist, but like shadows in their own homes. A society so busy that they forget themselves has given birth to a generation that wants to deny everything. Truth number 6. No touching culture. But there are free hugs, rental boyfriends/girlfriends. You can go to Japan, live there for many years without ever hearing your neighbors ask, chat, or invite you over. Privacy is absolutely respected. The Japanese do not like to touch, do not hug or kiss socially, do not shake hands much, only bow. However, in a society that is cold in terms of interaction, there is a strong development of artificial emotional services. For example, the free hug service, where you can pay to lie next to a stranger in silence. The service of renting a girlfriend, boyfriend, relative, with prices ranging from a few hours to a whole day, depending on the emotional experience you want to have. There are even services that rent people to scold you or listen to you vent, cry. It sounds strange, but for many Japanese, this is the only way to heal. They are not used to sharing with relatives, but easily open up to strangers, especially when intimacy is clearly priced. An emotionally isolated society has created a need to artificially connect. It's no longer about natural warmth, but about intimacy paid for by money, reasonable, short-term, easy to control. Fact number 7. Train stations are extremely efficient, but they have staff pushing people into trains. If you've ever used the train in Japan, you've probably been amazed by the precision, speed, and coverage of the system. The stations are always clean, the staff are enthusiastic, and the electronic boards are constantly updated. But there's one sight that first-time visitors to Japan will never forget. Staff in uniforms, wearing white gloves, using force to push passengers into the train cars, stuffing them like the lid of an overloaded suitcase. You heard right, it's a real job. These people are called oshiya, or pushers. The reason is that during rush hour in big cities like Tokyo, there are so many people moving around, and they need to make sure everyone gets on the train on time. A country where everything is so orderly, how can there be such chaos and absurdity? But this is Japan, where everything has a reason, even if it seems paradoxical at first. Punctuality is a top priority, and if having to squeeze and be pushed into a train is the price of keeping to schedule, then the Japanese are willing to accept it. 7 truths. 7 paradoxes. 7 insights that will completely change the way you think about one of the most civilized countries in the world. But there are 3 more, Even more controversial, haunting, and confusing. Why does a country that values tradition have the lowest birth rate in Asia? Why is the place that invented karaoke a place where so many people don't dare to express themselves? And why can the Japanese disappear from society without leaving a trace? Let's move on to the final part, where the last 3 truths will close the multidimensional and paradoxical picture of Japan. Part 3, Truth No. 8 to 10, the shocking dark corner of Japan.
Trudno.
8. A country that loves children, but has an alarmingly low birth rate. Japan is famous for taking care of children from the smallest things. Kindergarten teaches children to be independent from an early age. TV shows, books, toys, all are intelligently designed, thoughtful, and educational. On the train, you will see that priority seats for pregnant women and children are always respected. However, Japan is facing a serious population crisis. The birth rate is the lowest in history. The number of children born each year in Japan is constantly decreasing. In 2024, the number of people over 65 will account for more than 30% of the population for the first time. Many rural schools will have to close because there are no students. Why is that? Young Japanese people are increasingly reluctant to get married. If they do get married, they delay having children because of the high cost, the pressure of raising children, and the work environment that does not allow women to take long maternity leave. A stable but harsh society that makes parenthood more of a burden than a joy. The contradiction is clear. The country invests a lot in children, but does not create conditions for children to be born. Fact number 9. A standard society. But there is a phenomenon of vanishing without a trace. Do you believe that every year in Japan, tens of thousands of people voluntarily disappear? Not kidnapped. Not dead. Not suddenly missing. They voluntarily leave their old lives, change their names, and start over from zero, leaving no trace. This phenomenon is called juhatsu, which means evaporation. Some people escape from debt. Others are ashamed of failure, job loss, divorce, bankruptcy. Some people simply can't stand the pressure from society, from their families, from themselves. In Japan, there is no law that prevents you from disappearing. You can hire a service to move overnight, erase all traces, and live where no one knows who you are. It sounds like a movie script, but it's true. And it's not uncommon in Japan. In a society that places a lot of emphasis on dignity and expectations, running away, no matter how extreme, becomes the last resort for those who can't take it anymore. A neat, orderly, efficient country, yet tens of thousands of people quietly disappear every year. It's a bitter paradox. Fact number 10. The price of perfect, the highest suicide rate among developed countries. Japan used to be the ideal model of Asia: developed economy, advanced education, disciplined society, rich culture. But perfection comes with a very high price. Japan has the highest suicide rate among developed countries, especially among teenagers, students, and even the elderly. In a country where people always smile at the right time, always bow properly, always complete all work on time, internal breakdown is not accepted. Japanese people are taught from a young age, do not cause trouble for others. And when you fall into a psychological crisis, depression, despair, asking for help, showing weakness, is what they fear the most. And when they cannot share, cannot find anyone to help, cannot endure any longer, many people choose to leave quietly. Not because they are weak, but because society does not give them the opportunity to be weak. For the Japanese, failure is unforgivable, even in study, work, or marriage. And that turns an exemplary society into an invisible prison for those who cannot meet the standard. Japan, a country that the whole world respects, learns from, and admires. But the deeper we go, the more we see the truth. No place is absolutely perfect. There is cleanliness, civilization, technology, culture. But there is also pressure, loneliness, strangeness, and many things that make you think again. Japan is not just a land of cherry blossoms, sushi, and samurai. It is also a land of contrasts, where an orderly exterior hides a contradictory interior. That is what makes Japan not only beautiful, but also mysterious. Not only lovely, but also thought-provoking. Not only worth living in, but sometimes very difficult to live in. If you find this video makes you see Japan from a different perspective, Please like and subscribe to see more fascinating stories about culture, society, and strange things around the world. Have you ever experienced culture shock when visiting Japan? Or know a strange fact that was not mentioned in this video? Leave a comment below. I would love to hear more from you. Why does a country famous for discipline and neatness have unbelievable festivals? Why are people so polite but hire huggers and fake boyfriends? Why does Japan, a technology paradise, still use fax machines? From cultural and social paradoxes to untold dark corners, this is more than just an entertaining video. It's a journey into the depths of Japanese psychology and identity. These are things that travel books, brochures, or tour guides will never tell you. Shocking truths about technology and traditions in Japan. Strange social phenomena, hikikomori, juhotsu. A culture of non-touching but with artificial intimacy services. Low birth rate and alarming population status. Suicide rate and the intense pressure behind the perfect appearance. 10 facts about Japan, strange things in Japan, contrasting Japanese culture, dark side of Japan, Japanese culture shock, what is juhotsu, Japanese people live a reclusive life, Japanese mysteries, suicide in Japan, Japanese girlfriend rental service, hikikomori, things no one tells about Japan. Don't forget, like if you find this video enlightening about Japan. Subscribe to discover more strange and fascinating facts around the world. Comment to share your thoughts or experiences with this country.